Hi, this is Sanjana from MockCat. With just a little over 50 days left for CAT 2023, if you're starting your prep now, or perhaps depending on these last 2 months to really boost your scores, can you do that? So the answer to that is a resounding yes, and I'm going to give you the 50-day game plan that we use for our crash course students. By the way, if you want to sign up for it, just click on the link in the description and start out with your prep right away or reach out to us at the number given in the description. So now let's start off. So what does cracking CAT even mean, right? What are the percentiles that you need to get and what are the marks that you need to get you those percentiles? So these are the approximate marks that you can expect that are required for a medium difficulty CAT. So 85 percentile, for example, was around 51, 52 marks in CAT 2021, which was a medium difficulty CAT. The marks required were a little lower last year because that was tougher. Assuming that it's going to be of medium difficulty, somewhere around these marks is what you're targeting. So if you're getting 85 percentile, which means that your marks are higher than 85% of the people taking the exam, somewhere around 50 marks is what you're targeting. What I would recommend is target a 99, which will be somewhere around 95, 96 marks, or even a 99 plus, which would be a triple digit score. And that would pretty much guarantee you most of the top calls. So 80 to 85 percentile is where you will start getting calls from the top 50 B schools where you have 100% placements and somewhere around a 10 to 15 lakh starting average salary. But 99 or little over 99 is what most people need to get into the top 10 B schools, which include the top 6, top 7 IIMs as well as some other B schools like SPJN, FMS and so on. These, of course, will change based on criteria like your profile, that's your ACADS, what reservation category you fall under, do you have work experience, do you have academic or gender diversity, and certain other criteria. But this is essentially what you will need on average, and you can tweak the numbers based on your own personal profile. Or if you have any questions, just shoot it in the comments and we'll try to help you out. So now let's understand what should we be targeting, right? It would have struck you that 80, 85 percentile versus 99 is literally doubling the marks, right? So can you do it first off? And why should you do it? Why should you devote the next 50 plus days to working really hard on CAT, maybe take a bunch more exams and get a 99 percentile? Isn't it enough to get an 85 or perhaps a 90 percentile? So this is what I would recommend. I would definitely recommend that you target 99 percentile. That's the goal that we recommend to all of our students. Some, of course, need a higher percentile depending on their profile. But maybe you're worried that, oh, there's not enough time. Or, maybe you feel that, oh, my ACADS have not been good. Can I even get this sort of a percentile? Maybe, some people have these fears that, oh, I'm weak in quant or I'm weak in verbal and things like that. So let me tell you why, despite anything, you should target the 99th percentile. 99 percentile is what is typically getting you calls from the top 10 or 20 B schools where you have 100% placements and your average starting salary will be in the 25 to 35 lakhs. And the reason for that will be the learning that you get, the experience that you get, the not just studies, but participating in competitions, being part of committees, industry interaction, a whole lot of things that will happen over the next 2 years to get you industry ready and to get you ready to start in senior roles in top companies at pretty decent packages. Now, the primary criteria for these B schools will typically be your CAT score, or depending on the institute, it could be your XAT, SNAP, NMAT, or other national level exam scores. The entrance exam, that is your CAT score or whichever other exam score, usually has the highest weightage, if not 100%. Typically, a minimum of 40 to 50% weightage will be given for your CAT score, and in most cases, it is actually more than that. In many cases, such as say your CAP IIMs or XLRI considering XAT or SNAP or NMAT, in all of these cases, the weightage is actually 100% or pretty close to that. And on top of it, the same entrance exam score is usually also considered for your final selection along with your interview and your VAT or other criteria. The other thing which happens is If you are somewhere on the lower end of the spectrum and you have maybe one or two interview calls, that's a more stressful experience, right? So the higher the percentile, the more the interviews you have. The interviews themselves become easier because you can walk in confidently and you can say that MBA is my dream. I want to get into the top colleges, and that is why I've worked hard to score say 99.4 percentile or something like that. So the interviews themselves become easier and there will be a lot less stress. Plus, because you'll have more interviews, all you need to do is crack that one interview. Now you might still be thinking, yeah, that's fine. But then, I'm not targeting the top five or the top 10 B schools. I am satisfied with 1 lakh a month, somewhere around 12 lakhs a year is sort of enough, right? There are 5,000 plus B schools in India. Why am I looking at only the top five or top 10? I'm, satisfied with the top 50. So the thing is, for most of us, an MBA degree, it's a one-time initiative, right? We're not looking to do it multiple times. So the better the B school, the easier things are for you, the more the learning you have, the more the respect in the corporate world. And all of that comes because you were disciplined and you put in your mind and you decided to crack CAT and get into a good B school. And the learning, then the experience that you had over the next 2 years. So it'll really open a lot of doors for you. And another thing to remember is your starting role that you are getting. It also depends a lot on the B school. So a lot of people, for example, are interested in iBanking, consulting, marketing roles, and you have a much higher chunk of these. And in fact, sometimes close to 100% of these only in the top 3, top 5, top 10 B schools. So that's an important thing to consider, especially if you have a particular dream role. And also remember that your starting salary has a huge impact, I would say a disproportionate impact on your career, because a lot of hikes, right? Year-end hikes, if you're moving to another company, so the hike that you get, all of these are typically based on a percentage. So, 30% of 12 lakhs versus 30% of 30 lakhs, there's a huge difference that is there. So hopefully now I've convinced you that you should target 99 percentile. So how do we get there? Now what I've done out here is I've given you a few suggestions which you can use based on what you are strong in. Whether you're strong in one area like say, VARC, or whether you're sort of average to above average in all the sections, or perhaps quant is your strength, in which case you'll probably also end up doing well in DILR. So you can look to sort of, have any of these strategies, but please remember, this is not what you're targeting to get if you're taking a mock tomorrow or the day after. This is where you need to reach somewhere in the first half of November. So now, depending on whatever strategy you've chosen, how do we get there? How do we get these 30 or even 45 marks in one section? Now, to get these marks, these are the most important areas that you need to look at. On the VARC front, it is RCs. RCs themselves are 16 out of the 24 questions in VARC. That's contributing to 48 marks. And while we're not going to be getting 100% score on the verbal front, RCs are a must for you to get a high or even a reasonable score on the VARC front. Similarly, on the DILR front, matching numerical reasoning interpretative tables and rest of DI, what I'm calling graphs and charts, will essentially contribute at least 2 to 3 cases, or have been contributing at least 2 to 3 cases over the last 3 or 4 years of CAT. And you can expect it to be somewhat similar. So these would be your most important. And on the quant front, arithmetic has the highest weightage and algebra would be the next. In fact, algebra had close to about 7 questions last year, but somewhere around 12 to 14 questions can definitely be expected from both of these topics. So these RCs, arithmetic, algebra, matching, numerical reasoning, interpretative tables and rest of DI will be your must prep areas. Once you're done with this, the next would be summary on the verbal front that gets you 3 questions, Venn diagram from which potentially you can get a DILR case, or it could even be Venn diagram and a combination of something else. And the next could be geometry. And once these 3 are done, then the next would be jumbled paragraph, sentence insertion, the rest of the logical reasoning topics, and numbers and modern maths on the quant front. So start off with the must prep topics and boost your concept knowledge and start practicing the questions there. So how do we go about preparing and practicing? So I'll give you the same plan that we use at MOCAT. So starting with the quant section, which is where you have the maximum prep, we'll start with arithmetic and then algebra, which are the must prep areas. So you need to have access to video lessons preferably. Video lessons are much better than text lessons because that is what will help you to understand the concepts. And the next thing is speed concepts, which is a unique MOCAT feature that I'll explain. So at MOCAT, for example, we have 160 plus hours of video lessons, and a major chunk of that will be quant because that's where you have the highest number of topics. So you need these video lessons to understand all of the concepts. And as you can see, every lesson has multiple modules with the video and the text. And that is what you need to go through. Now, once that is done, how do you ensure that you're sort of remembering it and you're thorough? How are you doing your revision? So for your revision, we actually have concept revision videos, which are shorter videos that you have across each topic. So you're just going through the concepts themselves. And then once that is done, the unique thing that we have is the speed concepts. The speed concepts is where you're basically getting a lot of questions and you can then figure out whether your knowledge of the concepts is actually accurate or not. Right? Are you getting the answers? Are you getting to an 8 out of 10 or 9 out of 10 in the speed concepts or not? This is what will help you to bridge the gap between knowing the concepts for sure and getting the answers. Of course, along with that, there's a lot of practice questions split across easy, medium, all the way to difficult, as well as 25 mocks and 45 CAT sectionals, which I'll touch upon later. But on the quant front, video lessons and speed concepts are the most important. And once that is done, practice questions, past questions, daily quizzes, again, something which we have on our site, quiz of the day, these would be the next things. Once you are thorough in arithmetic and algebra, go through geometry, numbers, and modern maths. Again, the concept videos. If nothing else, you are at least sure that whatever easy questions come from these areas, you should be able to target. Next, we come to DILR. And DILR is the part which is tricky for a lot of us because we've not had this in school. At best, we might have given aptitude exams, but the CAT level DILR, it's much more logical reasoning oriented. Even the DI, right? It's really, living up to the name of data interpretation. You need to really interpret. And it's something which is tough for a lot of people. So how do you go about it? First off, the lessons to prioritize: matching, numerical reasoning, interpretative tables, and graphs, by which I mean graphs, charts, rest of DI. And here again, video lessons, preferably prepared by someone who's at least at a 99 plus percentile and with live classes if possible, is what you need to get. So at MOCAT, for example, all of the DILR lessons have a lot of solved cases which have been solved by Vignesh, who's a 99.9 plus percentiler in DILR. And solving these, going through these in the lessons, in the live classes, as well as in the practice module is what is going to help you to solve a lot of cases and get to 1 to 2 cases. One case would typically be sufficient for your cutoffs, and 2 cases is going to go a long way towards the 90 to 100 marks that we are targeting. What we would recommend is 100 to 200 cases. This seems like a lot, but remember, we have 25 mocks and 45 sectionals, out of which 15 are DILR. Even if I look at just the 25 mocks, that itself gives you 100 cases. The lessons, probably another 100. And you have daily quizzes, past questions, practice questions, a whole bunch of these. And this is where you realize that yes, you're able to solve 1 to 2 questions in every mock and you start feeling confident for your CAT. Once this is done, look to prep the remaining areas. You can definitely expect 1 to 2 cases from here as well, but this would be your priority. Now coming to verbal, which is the section that I coach for, and hence, it's my favorite section. Most important here would be RCs. 2/3 of the verbal section and close to 1/4 of the entire CAT paper is RCs, right? Now, these RCs are pretty different from what we've had in school, where the passages have been a little easy, the questions have largely been direct. Here, you'll be getting passages which will typically be overseas sources and which will be across a wide range of genres. So, you need to do a daily reading at CAT level across these genres, and you need to figure out what is the author's viewpoint in these articles. Especially when we have less time, a lot of people start rushing and just starting solving RCs, right? But that's not the right way. You always need to prep before you start solving. And this is your prep for verbal. And at MockCat, the daily POV is a unique feature which will again help you to boost your score. In fact, some of these lessons are free, so you can go through it, understand what I mean by the author's POV, which is point of view, look at the solved examples, and then on a daily basis, you can look to read the articles, understand the viewpoint, come up with your own, compare it with mine, and see if you are getting it. And this is what is going to help you to boost your score. And you can also critically analyze it if there are certain genres which are tougher for you. And doing this on a daily basis and understanding what you're good at and your shortcomings is what will help you. If there are certain genres where you're finding that you're lagging a bit, you can actually go through only those to boost. And the genres that you're strong in are the ones that you should probably target in the mocks and in the actual exam. Now, aside from this, of course, we have a lot of lessons as well. The RC lesson is probably the longest that we have at MockCat, and along with that, all of the other topics. And that's what you should go for next. Once you feel that you are in a good place, you are getting, say, at least 80% of the author's viewpoint, the next thing to do, the videos as well as preferably if possible live classes to understand how a 99.9 plus percentiler is approaching an RC, how would I interpret it, how am I solving the questions, what are the techniques that are there in the lessons, how am I using it, how am I inferring the meanings of maybe unknown words or concepts that I don't know. All of that is what will also help you to boost your score. And then once you're in a good place in RCs where you're getting at least a 3 out of 4 right on average, the next would be summary, where you should target to get somewhere around 2 out of 3 right. And then the next would be sentence insertion and jumbled paragraphs, where at least you should go through the lessons and the practice questions. Now in verbal, we do have only 4 topics. So I would recommend that you should at least go through the lessons for all 4, preferably, get access to video lessons or live classes would be even better, and understand all of the techniques. But understanding RCs and doing the daily reading and the POV is what I have seen has helped our students to get to a 90, 95 and a 99 plus percentile in verbal and really boost their CAT scores and get into IIMs or other top B schools. And the POV is something which is available for free. So that's something you can start right away after watching this video. So now that you've learned all of this, you've started your practice, how exactly is that going to translate into scores in your mocks? So first and foremost, I would say that you should start taking mocks right away. Unless you're really nervous, take a mock or a past paper and just see where you stand. That will help you figure out what are your strengths, what are your weak areas, and you know that you need to boost your strengths to get high marks there, and you need to at least get to a certain level in your weak areas. And that is what will help you determine your prep plan and understand how do you get from whatever you are scoring now all the way to that 90 to 100 marks. Remember, even if you're starting with, single digit marks, if you keep adding just one question in every section every week, that's still getting you to 90 to 100 marks. To start with, please make sure that you're setting realistic or even low targets. This is not an exam that we do well if we are stressing. So set a very, very reasonable target, especially in the beginning, and use your scores for the first 3 mocks that you take more as a baseline to improve further and to understand what you need to prep more. Test taking strategy is something which is also very important when it comes to CAT. 99 percentile is less than 50% marks. So we are not solving questions sequentially. We are not trying to solve every question. No one's finishing the paper. What we need to do is we need to find those questions which are easy for us and which we can solve quickly. So there's a lot of strategies that we go into at MockCat. For example, the 688 strategy, which is explained in a previous video, which I'll link for you, is something which really helps on the quant front. And for every mock, we do an interactive test taking strategy session as well, so that you understand where you've gone wrong and how you can improve and what is your prep plan for the next week. And this analysis part is extremely important. Only once you figure out what are the errors, what are the areas where your concepts are lacking, is your test taking strategy what you need to improve to find the easier questions, that is where you will see your score really go up. If possible, at least video solutions or preferably live classes to understand how anyone at a 99 or preferably a 99.9 plus percentile is actually targeting that particular test. What are the questions they're going for? What are the questions they're leaving? What is the approach? How are they figuring out which questions to choose? And is there an easier way to solve an RC and a DILR case and a quant question that perhaps you have not realized that they have? So these are the things which again will help you to boost your score. And another thing which sometimes becomes common, especially when we are maybe having fewer days to CAT, is we could be anxious. There could be this fear of failure. So again, that is something that you need to address. You won't get to 100% accuracy in verbal, but try to get to 100% accuracy in quant and DILR, especially by eliminating silly mistakes or calculation errors. We do have a video on this as well, how to eliminate silly mistakes. So I'll link that for you here in the description. So that's broadly it. I would recommend start with a past CAT paper or a mock. You can take our free mock and just see where you are, figure out your strengths and your weaknesses, and use that to formulate a game plan as to how you're getting to 90 plus scores by, say, around mid-November. The most important things, like I said, concept video lessons, practice questions where you have solutions by 99 plus percentilers, speed concepts that we have at MockCat, and the daily reading and POV, which will help you to boost your scores in quant and the verbal front. Given that there's less time, if possible, go for high quality guided coaching, at least video lessons, if not live classes. Because in this short time, rather than figuring out, going through YouTube, watching a bunch of videos, scrounging and trying to figure out why your answer is wrong, why is your test strategy not correct, it really helps if you have access to people who have taught this competitive exam, and you can reach out to them, you can get mentored by them, you can ask them doubts, and you can also live solve along with them and see how they are solving, as we do at MockCat. Definitely take mocks once a week preferably, and analyzing a mock is very, very important. And taking 5 to 10 mocks and analyzing them is better than taking 20, 30 mocks and not analyzing them, because that analysis is what is going to help you improve and boost your score by the next mock and the next mock and finally all the way up to CAT. And last thing, look to take multiple national level exams. So XAT, SNAP, NMAT, others depending on, if you're interested in a particular area, perhaps, the exam of your state. These are the exams that you can take to increase your chances. You can check out our InfoZone section in MockCat, click on top B schools, and you get an idea of what we feel are the top B schools based on, the industry, the branding, and the average salary, and what are the exams that you can sign up for to get into these B schools. And it improves your chances, it maximizes the number of calls that you're going to get. And some of these exams are in December and January or even later. So it also gives you extra time to prep. So remember, target 99 percentile. Having a high target is what will drive you and will have a disproportionate impact on your career going forward. Concept videos and practice in terms of the daily POV, speed concepts, practice questions and past year questions is what will help you to get ahead. And regular mocks and analysis to analyze, understand your strengths and your weaknesses, improve your test taking strategy and boost your score. And that is what will get you to these 90 to 100 marks that you'll need to get into the top B schools. All the best. And if you want to sign up at MockCat for one of our packs, use the link in the description or at least click on it and start solving using the free content right away.